Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining in and listening to this episode of Mom Mode. Today, we have on Chrissy Lawler, also known as the Peaceful Sleeper, and I'm just so excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So, for those who don't know Chrissy, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you. And if you can just give us a little introduction of who you are.
Yeah. So I'm Chrissy Lawler. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been practicing for 15 years. I also have four little girls. They're so fun. They're ages 12, 10, 7, and 4, almost 5. And I have been the peaceful sleeper for about 7 years. So it's been so fun to be able to connect with women and kind of have this mental health and sleep and parenting smorgasbord to
Yeah.
just try and help moms in their early motherhood journey feel more balanced, more rested, more peace, more joy.
Yeah. I think we can all breathe and feel like just we can relate and resonate with what you're saying. I know I feel like for so many moms and just parents in general, like the sleep is the hardest part and the hardest adjustment. I know for my husband and I, it was. I'm like, it was just very difficult. And that's like the number one thing that we would tell all of our friends when we first had our daughter. We were like, it's the sleep. Like, the rest of it you can get through, but like just that lack of sleep. And then, like you mentioned, the mental health, like it's such a big, those two coincide. Obviously when you're not getting rest. How did you start? So you said you've been the peaceful sleeper for 7 years.
Yeah.
How did this all start?
Yeah, great question. So, like I said, I've been a therapist for 15 years, and I started to notice that all of my clients that were the most stuck with their mental health weren't sleeping well. So, I started, especially with moms, like feeling disenchanted with motherhood, feeling unhappy, feeling resentment towards their partners, or like I'm sacrificing everything for my family and I love them, but I'm losing myself along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that sleep was this massive component. So, I'm kind of a perfectionist and, want to know all the best things. And so I hated that for such a long time. I was like, I don't know, like sleep is difficult. Try lavender oil and manage your
Mm-hmm.
screen time. So I kind of serendipitously got wind of a training in advanced behavioral sleep medicine and incorporated sleep health into my clinical practice. In that
Wow.
training, there are two huge things that stuck with me. One is that 70% of people with a mental health diagnosis have underlying sleep issues. Our
Wow.
sleep and our mental health are so intertwined. Even if we don't have a mental health diagnosis, like you and I both know, if you are not sleeping well, you are grumpy, you're snappy, you're not as happy, you don't have energy to play
Mhm.
games or go for a run or like do all the things. Like sleep is the first thing that
Yeah.
starts the cascade of your well being, even for just one day, right?
Yep. You're so right.
So, so anyway, I incorporated sleep health into my clinical practice and then I had babies.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
was
So you did this before having your 4 daughters.
yes, but
Okay.
just in a clinical setting and as part of my therapy sessions. So then baby sleep kind of became top of mind, obviously, because I was like, holy crap, I'm not sleeping because she's not sleeping. And I'm
Mhm.
experiencing all of this postpartum depression, anxiety. So that's the other big takeaway that I learned from the course is that they are starting to think that postpartum depression and anxiety are more related to the instantaneous and drastic sleep deprivation that new moms experience than just the hormone shift after having a baby. Of course, it's so hard to tease it out and really say what is what,
For sure.
but that totally resonated with me that, like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm feeling really anxious. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I've wanted to be a mom my whole entire life. I love this tiny creature more than I ever thought possible. And I'm deeply unhappy. I feel
Mhm.
very anxious. Like, I remember when she would wake up in the middle of the night for a feeding, I would just feel this wave of anxiety go over me. Maybe it was because I got woken up, it was the adrenaline rush. Maybe it was because nursing was new and it was still kind of painful. But I remember feeling stuck in this darkness of like, I
Hmm.
feel like I'm failing my baby. I feel like I should be enjoying this. And I
Yeah.
am, don't get me wrong. Like I was enjoying it so much, but there was this emptiness that I'd never felt before that honestly, it broke my heart. I was like, I don't want to feel this way. This is so special.
Yeah. No, I actually can very much so relate to you.
Yeah. And I think a lot of moms can, and it's hard to talk about. It's hard to identify because we think that postpartum depression looks like I want to hurt myself. I want to hurt my baby. I don't feel connected to my baby. And it can look like
Hmm.
all of those things, but it can also look like I don't feel like myself and I don't feel like I'm thriving, but I do love my baby. I would never dream of hurting them. Like, so I just need to, you know, grin and bear
Yeah.
it. And like, I want to shout on the rooftop. So, like, it doesn't have to be that way. You can find joy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I knew that I wasn't thriving because I wasn't sleeping. And even though I knew everything about how to help adults sleep well, I wasn't sleeping
Hmm.
well because my baby wasn't sleeping well. So I got my hands on everything that I could about optimizing baby sleep and I kind of hated all of it. I'm going to be honest. Like I felt like a lot of the resources and this was back in 2013. I think we've done a better job the last few years, but I
Yep.
felt like all of the resources were incredibly shaming and incredibly fear based. Like, do this or else your baby won't thrive. If you
Okay.
do it this way, you're doing it wrong. Let me tell you why my method is better than that method. And that method sucks and is going to hurt babies. And my method is the only right one. And so, like, there was this like professional pissing contest, for lack of a
Hmm.
better word. And I felt like I was stuck in the middle of it. And I was like, I don't need your guys' egos. Like, I need you to tell me what to do.
Hmm.
And so, long story short, or long story long, I kind of read everything that I could on the subject and realized I get to be the expert on my baby. I have lots of different ideas, and I'm going to take what works and leave what doesn't. And I figured it out. Maddie started sleeping well. I started sleeping well. I started thriving. Fast forward, I had another baby. I really prioritized her sleep, figured out that her sleep approach was a little bit different than Maddie's, but
Hmm.
what was the same is that as soon as we could figure out sleeping, I could figure out thriving.
Yep.
And then I kind of became the friend in the friend group that just like knew everything about sleep. So I wanted to help all of my friends get their baby sleeping well. And then we moved to Las Vegas. We were in Dallas at the time. And kind of quickly again, I became the friend in the friend group that knew everything about sleep. And I was like, I guess I'm the sleep lady. Um,
Hmm.
and then, starting over my private practice, there's a little bit of a lull in, building up a caseload again. And I felt so called to that really the biggest way that I could impact maternal mental health on a wider scale is helping new moms demystify sleep and realize there is no one size fits all. I'm not going to crap on everybody else's methodology. I'm going to assimilate everything that we know
Hmm.
about infant sleep and empower moms with a template to know how to get there for you without the shame and judgment of like, do this or else you're failing your child, because that
Yep.
helps literally no one.
No. Yeah. And I mean, I definitely feel the no sleep. My daughter, I got very, very, very lucky. I didn't read anything at 4 months. She just, we had her in a bassinet next to our bed. And then at 4 months, she was just getting fussy. And I'm like, she's been sleeping so well. And I'm like, maybe it's time to transition her to the crib. Like, I wasn't necessarily ready for that, but I'm like, let's try it out. Maybe that's what she needs.
Yep.
Felt like, and I was doing naps in the crib. So, like, she was, she already knew the crib, but only for naps. And then she just started sleeping through the night. So we got so lucky.
So
We only have one
yeah,
one daughter right now.
yeah.
So that might be a different story down the line. But we got very lucky and she's literally slept through the night. I mean, 7 to 7, 7 to 8 since 4 months old. Um, with your first daughter, how long or like at what point were you like, I'm not thriving? Like how many months into her being a baby?
So, I mean, it was very clear to me, even like 2 or 3 weeks in, that sleep deprivation is taking a big toll
Yeah.
on my well being. So, I need to figure out how to make this better quicker or,
Mm-hmm.
figure out different strategies with my husband because, like, me being sleep deprived all the time is not like I'm not doing well.
Yeah.
He was amazing. He was so supportive and, that. So, really until 4 months, it can be a little bit of a crapshoot. I kind
Yeah.
of instill the hope that by 6 to 8 weeks, we can be getting 6 to 8 hour stretches. So we were definitely there. Like things just started getting better around 6 weeks with these longer stretches. And then I do sleep training at 4 months.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I'm not focusing on cutting out feedings. I think that's an area where Peaceful Sleeper is different than other sleep consultants
Mm-hmm.
because I focus more on learning the skill of independent sleep initiation. Going from
Okay.
all the way awake to all the way asleep on your own is a learned skill. And when you can fall asleep on your own, then naps get better, then nights get better, then scheduling can orient, and middle of the night awakenings start to drop off on their own. I feel like a lot of other sleep consultants out there are like, you got to sleep through the night. Let's cry it out through the feeding so they don't wake up to
Mm,
eat anymore. And that can be a part of it, but it's actually secondary to mastering the skills. And so I take a very like developmental approach to like, let's understand the way that the brain works and how to do this in order
okay.
like every other aspect of development, right? Like we
Yep.
do tummy time before babies can roll and they have to roll before they can sit and sit before they can crawl or sometimes vice versa. But like they
Yeah.
need to roll and sit and crawl before they can stand. Like everything goes in order when you
Yep.
have these skills that will lead to this development. And so I take that approach with sleep too. Like let's button up this part and then we're ready for this next phase.
So in your program, I mean, and like you said, like babies, children, they differ,
Mhm.
like your second and
Yep.
that, that's
Yep.
normal. Um, so I guess if someone were to like work with you from the beginning,
Mhm.
are you working on that learned behavior through naps and night sleep? So like you're doing the same approach no matter what. Whenever that baby goes to sleep, you're doing the same approach. So that way they learn it.
Yes and no. So when I start working with somebody day one, the
Mm-hmm.
first 4 months, we are focused on establishing a good sleep foundation. Those four pillars of a good sleep foundation are the same for every single baby, but
Okay.
what that looks like will be different for every single baby. So
Okay.
we need to focus on getting full feedings. We need to focus on optimizing their schedule, learning their sleepy cues, their awake windows, figuring out like when do we get the sweet spot. We
Mm-hmm.
need to figure out how to get them comfortable, right? So we're looking at like is there lip and tongue tie? Is there gas? Is there reflux? Like if you are uncomfortable and discontent, we need to resolve that, right? Every
Mm-hmm.
baby deserves to be comfortable.
Yes.
And then we need to optimize soothing strategies. So, how does my baby like to be soothed? Some babies do really well rocking side to side. Some babies do really well on a yoga ball. Some babies, a booty pat. Like figuring out how do I get my baby calm? Those four pillars are this like that is the objective for every baby 0 to 4 months. But as you can see, it's going to look a little bit different from baby to baby.
Yep.
So there's a set framework of a goal that we have to basically get to know our baby, read their cues, get them to be sleeping as well as possible and being as comfortable as possible with as much intervention and support as they need
Mhm.
knowing that when we can meet their needs and get them happy and content and comfortable and sleeping well, then we can scale back how much help they need to sleep. And
Yep.
then at 4 months, that's when the circadian rhythm is starting to develop. Their sleep structure is developing more. That's kind of why we have the 4 month sleep regression. Uh,
Okay.
but there's a neuroscientist that I work with, and he articulated like at 4 months is when we can read their sleep cycles on a sleep study. Before it's
Wow.
very disorganized. So that's the structure of baby sleep shifts, and at 4 months is more patterned. And so that's why we can sleep train at 4 months, because their brain is ready for some of that consistency and clearer sleep cycles. So
That
when we
makes
get to
sense.
that point, we build on the foundation that we already laid of helping you sleep well and helping your body feel good and
Mhm.
calm. And then we teach you how to fall asleep on your own with like different parents have different objectives, right? Like some
Mhm.
are okay with allowing some room for protest or cry it out, as a lot of people call it. Some parents do not want to cry it out, and
Mhm.
that's okay. I
Mhm.
always say getting good sleep matters. How you get there doesn't matter as long as you do.
Yep.
So I feel like so many people in the like anti sleep training space, I say with heavy air quotes, can sometimes, you know, talk about how awful it is to sleep train, which factually is inaccurate. I'll just say that.
Mhm.
Talk about how terrible it is to make a baby cry it out. And if you don't want to cry it out, that's okay. You don't have to. But just make sure that you're letting your baby have good sleep, because
Mhm.
getting your baby to sleep well massively impacts literally every single aspect of their development. So
Mhm.
don't throw sleep out with sleep training, you
Yep.
know. Um,
Yeah. It's funny, I was gonna say as you were walking me through those those pillars, I'm like, "Yep, my daughter definitely had reflux." She, like, needed to be, like, elevated,
yep,
in order to sleep.
yep,
And, like, it was a light elevation we gave her, and then I barely used my rocking chair with her. She would not let me sleep.
yep,
That was the killer for me
yep,
because I'm like, I will hold you all night,
yep,
but I just wanna sit." And the minute I sat, she would, like, stretch,
yep,
and I needed to stand and just, like, bounce with her.
yep,
Which now I'm like, I love because like it's rare that she lets me. She just wants to go to bed.
yep, totally.
So if she lets me hold her, I hold her. But as far as cry it out, I mean, is there any peace of mind we can give parents who are very against crying it out? I mean, my husband and I, did we let our daughter cry for 20 minutes? No, but we started gently, I guess, letting her cry just so she knew, and we would go in there and comfort her and
Mhm,
let her know that she was safe. You're good. We're right outside the door,
mhm,
and let her cry, a little more, a little more. And, we still do that. If she wakes up in the middle of the night, maybe for teething,
yep,
I'm like, okay, it's been 2 minutes and she went back to sleep.
yep,
If it's 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, this is odd for her. I'm going to go in there, just comfort her. And then she goes right back to sleep.
yep, exactly.
So, is there any comfort that we can give parents that are listening about crying it out? Or if it's a new mom that's like unsure about it?
Yes. So what I will say to preface is, even with everything that I'm about to say, if you do not want to cry it out, you do not have to.
No.
It is an option, but it is a safe, effective option. So there is so much misinformation around circulating about the dangers and damage of cry it out, which I do kind of want to address because it's actually just factually inaccurate, but it
Mm-hmm.
sounds really big and scary. So there have been hundreds of clinical research studies about cry it out. Not a single one has found adverse reactions. In one of the big meta analyses, they studied 75 studies with over 300,000 babies that participated, and they did not find any evidence of harm, which contradicts what a lot of people will say. Research shows that
Mhm.
cry it out damages attachment, increases cortisol, that increased cortisol is bad for the brain and the heart. And yes, research shows that chronically elevated cortisol is difficult neurologically for a baby, but a big asterisk there.
Mhm.
The biggest study that Dr. Sears is kind of the first big doctor researcher that came out against sleep training. This was in the 80s, and it was more about kind of, I call it sleep training of the 80s. That is, close the door at 7 p.m. I'll come back at 7 a.m. and whatever happens, happens. Eventually, you'll learn to sleep through the night. That's not how most parents in 2025 are sleep training anyway.
No.
But his piece was conjecture. It was, here's the research that I've been looking at, and here's what I think about it. So, one of the studies that he cited talks about babies being separated from their mothers. The research study that he cites is rat pups at 5 days old being separated from their rat mama and put in an incubator and measured their brain and heart proteins and said, look, this separation from the mother seems to harm an infant, which, sure, fine, but we can't say that that's what happens when we're sleep training. Like,
Mhm.
actually, I think a closer comparison is separating a baby from their mother to go to the NICU. And I don't
Mhm.
think anybody in the world is going to say, hold on, taking that baby away from their mom to go to an incubator, heavy
Yeah.
air quotes, in the NICU is going to permanently damage that child because an intervention is necessary. And
Yeah.
so we do have to be so careful. Like, hold on a second. He's talking about permanently separating a rat from its mother at 5 days old. Like, that's just not what sleep training is.
Yeah. And my question would also be, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt. You're like we were talking about, like, what is happening if the baby's not getting proper sleep? Babies need sleep in order to grow and develop.
yeah,
So are we harming our children more by constantly just allowing them being awake during the middle of the night, and then us being awake during the middle of the night,
exactly.
and them not getting adequate sleep?
Exactly, exactly. So it really in some ways is like, what's the lesser of two evils? Like, I don't want my baby to cry while they're learning this skill, but
Yeah.
also them not learning this skill sets them up for more hardship for longer.
Yep.
Two of the other studies, when he talks about prolonged exposure to stress and that being damage, quote unquote, damaging to babies' brains and attachment, those two studies are about infants exposed to chronic stress and abuse in the home and chronic separation, like actual, like CPS infant neglect. And so,
Yeah.
actually, two authors of those studies came out against Dr. Sears and they were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, our study was about the impact of abuse and neglect
Yep.
on infants. We cannot say that that's the same as sleep training. That is normal stress. That is good enough parenting. Like, what you are using our study to say something that we never said, you
Yep.
are misrepresenting our information. And so I feel like that's actually a huge red flag when the
Mhm.
actual authors of the study are like, wait, we never said that. You can't say that we did.
Yep.
Right. And then
100%.
last but not least, like, I could be on my soapbox about this because I feel so fired up when there's so much misinformation that makes moms feel like they don't have an option. The other big point that people make is there are studies that when infants don't have their needs met, they stop cueing and signaling for their needs to be met. This was because of Romanian orphanage studies. And I actually worked in a Romanian orphanage for 4 months, and it's so much better than it was in the 80s when they discovered the whole orphanage crisis. And I could go on my soapbox about that. But what they found when the then president of Romania was, dethroned or whatever, and actually executed for
Oh,
his
wow.
crimes, is they found children severely neglected in these orphanages. They were tied to their cribs, they were in soiled clothing. Like those children suffered from attachment disorders and
Yeah.
their needs chronically not being met. And yes, those children stopped queuing for their needs to be met. When I worked in the orphanage in 2008, I had, and it was one of the good ones. I had 21 babies in our room and they were quiet all the time. It was heartbreaking. These were babies that we were not allowed to pick them up out of the crib to feed them with a bottle. We still would. We would like sneak as much love and attention as we could. And then we would get in
Yeah.
trouble and we're like, sorry, I forgot. But like we had to change their diapers in the crib. We had to play with a stuffed animal in the crib. We were supposed to just give them a bottle propped up with a stuffed animal because we weren't supposed to hold them. Like that is different than sleep training. So,
Yeah.
I feel like people will say, like, research shows if you don't meet your baby's needs, then they'll stop calling out for you. And I just want to tell every mom, like, yes, sure. In like really, really extreme scenarios, what we are talking about is so fundamentally different.
Mhm.
Like if you forgot to pack a snack when you were out and about and your kid is hungry and they have to wait, like that's not going to permanently damage attachment. Like
No.
the time that I was like getting something out of the fridge and I didn't see that my toddler came like toddling up next to me and I like closed the fridge and I knocked her over. Like she doesn't learn mommy pushes me,
Yeah.
right? Like
100%.
children's attachment security is so incredibly resilient.
Mhm.
And we do actually want our babies to be exposed to low levels of stress. The bigger issue that we're seeing now, and again, this is where I get on my soapbox as a therapist, is like humans are wired for struggle. We have to have struggle in small, reasonable doses so that we can grow and become stronger. And so, what
Mhm.
we are seeing now is kids that have not had enough struggle that then turn into teenagers and young adults that don't know how to cope and thrive. So being disappointed, being bored, having to figure it out, having a ball that goes out of reach and struggling to go get it, being stuck when you're rolling, like good struggle is good.
Yeah.
I also like think about weightlifting or,
Mhm.
you know, health and fitness. Like what makes your muscles grow is stress and strain. What
Mhm.
makes you be able to strengthen your lungs and your cardiovascular system is, you know, running. Like that run wasn't necessarily fun. I don't know, unless you're somebody that really likes running. Like
Yeah, not
it
me.
it's hardship on your system
Yep.
in small reasonable ways that makes your system stronger. Whether we're
Yep.
talking about your immune functioning, your cardiovascular system, your muscles, whether we're talking about the wind in a tree that makes the root system grow stronger and deeper. Like we grow from normative struggle, and cry it out during sleep training is normative struggle. Even my like more accelerated approaches are like we are giving baby 10 minutes and then we're going in to check on them and we are picking them up and we are giving them kisses and we are saying like you're doing so good big guy, mommy loves you so much, and then we're putting him back down. And
Yep.
in my method I've seen this literally tens of thousands of times. We can see massive results in less than 72 hours. Like less than 3 days, we have babies that are learning how to fall asleep on their own with less than an hour. Like I always cap it. There's, at bedtime, we do max of 5 timers. Like we are talking about tops 50, 60 minutes of discomfort for
Mhm.
usually about 3 days. Like that amount of struggle is going to be just fine for a
Oh,
baby's
absolutely.
psychology and physiology and neurology. Like
And
It
then
is
your
fun.
own mental health as well. And it's
Yes.
like, if they're having trouble, then like you said, is there a tongue tie? Do they have something more going on? That
Yep.
might not be big, but that you need to make a small adjustment with.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Wow. I'm glad that we went over that
Yeah.
because
Sorry,
I
I get
mean,
so fired up.
no,
I'm such
it's
a
so
researcher.
controversial. You
Yes.
hear so many, and like, you do what's best. Like, we have one set of friends that they're like, oh, we just put them in there and we let them cry it out for like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then my husband and I, like, we were having difficulty one night with our daughter, and I was like, maybe we should just let her, cry a little bit. And like after like 2 minutes, I'm like, I can't do it. And then we checked in on her, and then we went another like 3 minutes, checked on her, and then she was good. And I literally will say, like, we didn't follow any method. Like I said, I think we got lucky with Sailor, but yeah, it did not take longer than 3 days. And like then she learned that like I'm good.
Yep.
If I really need mom and dad, but if something else is going on, I'm just going to keep crying. So they come in here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Simple as that.
Yep.
Yeah. The
Yes.
only time our daughter wakes up now is teething.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
one's a little, do you have trainings on that or no?
Yeah. So, when there is an actual physical discomfort, or when a tooth is popping through, we're
Yeah.
still going to give them generally some space and time. Kind of exactly like you said, like, okay, you woke up, you're maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but like, so you got this? Like, I'm going to give you a
Yeah.
little bit of space and time to try and fall back asleep. But if you're
Yep.
in pain and you need mama, then I'm going to go in there and I'm going to help you because
Yep.
teething pain only lasts a finite amount of time.
Yep.
And some people are so rigid of like, well, if you start going in the middle of the night now, then it's just going to be the beginning of the end. And and I always remind parents like that's just not how human behavior works. Like maybe there's some clunkiness when we get back on track, but like we can get back on track.
Yeah. I would agree.
I always use the analogy of like, let's say you're training for a marathon, which as we've established, I'm not a runner, so I would not be training for a marathon, but let's say hypothetically someone is, and they go on a cruise and they're eating all the snacks, they're eating all the treats, they're drinking all the drinks, and they have not been on a long run in a whole entire week. Did they get out of shape in that 7 days?
No.
No, they did not. Their first run or two when they get back might feel a little different. It
Yep.
might be a little clunky getting back into the rhythm, but they can get back on track.
Yep. I
And
would agree
so
with that.
that's what I tell parents. Like, look, there's always going to be something. There's going to be a
Yep.
regression. There's going to be a tooth. There's going to be a sickness. There's going to be travel. And we just do what we need to do. And we get back on track when the thing is over.
Yep. Um, I have a couple of things. I was going to ask about traveling
Yep.
and sleep
Mm-hmm.
and then naps because I
Yep.
feel like that's a really big one too. I don't know which one we want to tackle first. Um, what do you want to start with?
So, since it's summer, I would say
Yeah,
let's talk about travel.
let's
Uh,
do it.
Travel is not as hard and scary as a lot of people think that it will be. The the biggest stressors are if we have a long airplane travel day, if we have a big time change, or if we are having the kind of vacation where we can't prioritize sleep very well. Like, let's say we're going from the East Coast to Disneyland, we have a 3 hour time change, and I'm hoping every nap can be in the stroller at Disneyland because I don't want to have to leave the park, right?
Yep.
So what I will say about time changes, usually a time change is going to coincide with a very long travel day. And so they're going to be tired and out of sorts. We just want to establish the new time zone as soon as we get there. So if you are going west and you
Mm-hmm.
are losing time, let's say you're going to Hawaii and what normally would be your 7 o'clock bedtime, it's only 4 o'clock in Hawaii. We're going to do a nap that we cap before bed. We're going to spend as much time as we can outside so they can get the natural sunlight in their eyes. The sun hitting your eyeballs helps your brain readjust the circadian rhythm because low angle sunlight signals to the brain that the day
Wow.
is winding down. So being outside when you travel the first and second day is going to help your baby get on track so much sooner. So
Never knew that. That is
yeah,
amazing.
it's such a great little it's such a
Yeah,
great
like just
little
something to remember.
Yep, yep. So, usually when you get to your destination, offer a nap. You might have to wake them up, do bedtime at kind of your normal time in the new place. And
Mhm.
then if baby wakes up too early in the morning, depending on their age and safety and whatever, I usually say, like, just pull them into bed with you after like 4 a.m. if they aren't going back to sleep so that they can sense that, like, I'm still supposed to be sleeping right now.
Yep.
Let's say hypothetically they wake up at 4 a.m. and they're just kind of like playing in bed with you, and at 6:30 you call it and you're like, all right, I guess we're up for the day now. I want you to like throw open the curtains and like, good morning, how did you sleep? Have a
Mhm.
very different demeanor when now it's time to be awake versus you were awake but you were supposed to be sleeping, so that they can understand that shift. And then again, get outside, because the other low angle morning sunlight signals to their brain it's time to start the day.
Okay.
And then just get on track for your day as much as possible. If you can prioritize sleep times, it obviously, like, there's a difference between a 3-year-old traveling and a 3-month old traveling. So
Yeah.
you're going to have some different nuances. Younger babies can tend to get wired and tired when they're overtired. And so sometimes, especially if it's like brand new parents with their first baby and they're 3 months old, like sometimes there's just some of that emotional shift of like, vacation feels different now. It
Yeah.
might not be worth it to skip a nap. It might, even if you're at Disneyland, it
Yep.
might be a better option to run back to the hotel and get at least one good nap in.
Yep.
Some babies can sleep really well on the go, some cannot. And so there,
Mine did not.
yep.
So
My,
we knew, like, and I think that's part of it too, is just knowing your baby, because some babies, yeah, they sleep, they just nap. And then
yep.
you're like, they're on their schedule. They're tired, they sleep. My daughter, it was like, needed a crib, whether it was her pack and play with the slumber pod over it.
Mhm,
She also like wouldn't sleep unless it was dark.
mhm,
So she does really well with the slumber pod.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, so we were like, okay, we at least need one really good nap out of her
Yep.
and then a good night's sleep.
Yep.
Um, because yeah, I would agree. If they don't do their naps, then you're throwing off your sleep and it's just going to be a continuous vicious cycle.
Yep. Yeah. And so much of adjustment to parenting is radical acceptance that I'm working around somebody else's needs and preferences and schedule now. And
Yeah.
I think, I don't know about you, but I feel like for lots of us, we have this glorious notion before we have kids of like, I'm not going to be that mom that revolves her whole life around her baby's sleep.
Oh
And then you
yeah.
get there and you're like, oh, actually, yes, I am going to be that mom.
Oh yeah, I'm 100%. And I never really, I didn't really know. I'll be honest. I was very naive about motherhood. Like,
As most of us are.
yeah, I was so naive. I was like, wow, now I get it.
Yep.
And then I also felt bad for all my friends that had kids. I'm like, wow, I was just not even there to
Totally.
like acknowledge what they were going through as a. As a woman, as a mom.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there's so
Um,
much of it, like everything, it's like you literally can't know until you know.
yeah, and then like you said, I mean, like we said, but someone might have their first baby and they sleep on the go. And like, our daughter, I don't want to say that she's difficult. She just, we brought her on the plane at like we took a 4:30, like we drove to the airport at 4:30 when she was 6 months old. And we're like, oh, she'll sleep. It's a 6 a.m. flight. It's going to be dark up the entire time. Like, landed, we flew from Chicago to Arizona, landed in Arizona. We're like, oh, she's for sure going to sleep when we get off the plane and she's in the car, wide awake. Like, literally did not go to sleep until like 3 p.m. Arizona time.
Yep.
And I was like, how is she even awake? And then she adjusted. I was like, she had just a really solid night's sleep. And then it was like, but we stuck to her naps. I'm like, we
Mhm.
can't not. We have to be home. But yeah, it's definitely that's a big adjustment to parenthood. Is, if you have a baby that needs to sleep
Mhm.
and has a particular way that they need to nap, it's sacrifice.
Yep, totally. Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
realizing like, okay, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Like in the same way that I imagine everybody that's gluten intolerant really wishes they could have a piece of pizza every once in a while. It's like, yes, uh-huh. Of course
Yep.
you do. And it might be worth it sometimes, it might not be worth it other times. And
Yep.
so like there is just that radical acceptance as we move into parenting of like, yes, I wish that this could be,
Yep.
and I'm gonna have to do this.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. No, that's some good tips on traveling. And then for naps,
Mhm.
I just feel like that's such a big topic of like, I see so many women or just moms that are like, oh, when do I switch from, I see like a lot of times not necessarily the 3 nap to the 2 nap, but the 2 nap to the 1 nap.
Yep.
I feel that that's talked about a lot.
Mhm.
And like personally, I kind of just went by my daughter's cues.
Yep.
And so, I'm like, okay, she's not napping as long for her second nap.
Mhm.
And it was messing her sleep at night up a little bit. And I was like, I really think she's just ready to shift. And then it was just, I'm lucky because I'm home with her. So I'm able
Mhm.
to work on that.
Yep.
And I don't know how daycare is,
Mhm.
I know there's different daycares might do it differently.
Yep.
But
Yep.
what
Exactly.
is your advice for the moms that are like, how do we transition naps?
Yep. Yes. So there are two main factors. One is the timing. So typically, and again, they're all averages, all babies are different, but typically we're going to drop from 4 naps to three around 4 or 5 months. We're going to drop from 3 naps to two around 7 to 9 months. We're going to drop from 2 naps to one around 12 to 16 months. And we're going to drop the nap completely, usually around age three, but like give or take 6 months. And
Yeah.
I know some 5 year olds that still like an afternoon nap.
Yeah.
So, loosely knowing when is typical to drop a nap, and when what you were doing is no longer working well for about 2 weeks straight.
Okay.
So, especially if we're on like the earlier end of that, or like it's very typical to have like a 10-month nap regression, but we don't usually drop to 1 nap until at least 12 months. Like, so if it's not the right time and things are clunky and falling apart, and you're like, is this a leap? Is it a sleep regression? Is it a tooth? Is it FOMO? Like, try the thing that you've normally been doing for 2 weeks, provide
Mhm.
the normal space and time. And if after 2 weeks you're like, this just is not working well, then go ahead and switch.
Okay.
Some babies that are very particular need almost like a step down path. So I say, if you have a baby that like we can't just rip off the band-aid and be like, all right, bud, here's your new schedule,
Yep.
then do the new schedule for 3 days and then the old schedule for 1 day. So if
Okay.
we're going from 3 naps to two, it's like we're going to do a 2 nap day for 3 days in a row. And then on the fourth day, we're going to give you a 3 nap day and see if you just need a little bit of like a slower adjustment period. But
Mhm.
usually if we're in the right time window, we can just rip off the band-aid and let's just go to the new schedule and see how you do.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of what I did,
Yep.
which is funny because I didn't, like I said, I really didn't follow. It was just following her cues,
Yep.
but I
And
might have gotten lucky.
yeah, many babies are fairly easy. Another big component is just parents' personality. And I say this as an anxious perfectionist that wants to do everything right. Like sometimes I just need somebody to hold my hand and tell me what to do, or
Yep.
tell me that I'm doing a good job, or like I just need a path to follow, or I need
Yep.
somebody by my side. Some parents aren't that anxious. They have an easy baby and they're like, I don't know, we'll just figure it out. Like there's not one or the other that's right or wrong. So
Mhm.
this is where I also come in as a therapist and I'm like, look, we all need what we need. And so
Yeah.
if you need more support, if you need a prescribed plan, if you need an expert in your corner telling you, how to do this thing, great, get the resources that you need. If you
Mhm.
do fine, kind of flying by the seat of your pants a little bit, and you're like, I don't know, I think we'll figure it out. Like, especially if you have an easy baby, then great. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Where we get into trouble is when either side starts to tell the other that they're wrong for doing it that way. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
and everyone's lives are different,
Yeah.
what their day looks like, how their baby is, I mean, like my husband and I both work from home. That's not the case for well, I don't work from home. I'm home.
Yeah.
And then my husband works from home. And so, we have a pretty easygoing schedule, I would say.
Yep.
It's not a lot of moving parts, and we only have one. When you have more children, when you have different schedules going on, it's a little more, it's just different.
Yep.
And it can, change your household a little bit.
Yes. And I always think about, again, like going back to fitness, it's like, how silly would it be if we had a runner and a swimmer and a weightlifter and a yogi fighting about which one is the best exercise?
Yeah,
It's like, well,
that's so true.
like it, different things are going to feel good for different people. Like, as long
Yeah.
as you're moving your body and you're enjoying movement and you're being healthy, like, that's okay.
Yeah. No,
And so,
100%.
I feel like sometimes it can be like that in parenting. It's like, no, this is the only way. And it's like, hold on a second. Like, parents are individuals, babies are individuals. Like, there literally is no one size fits all. So, like, what if
No.
we all were just nice to each other and just
Right.
celebrated that different people found a different path to thriving? Isn't that what it's all about?
Yep. I couldn't agree more. If parents were interested in learning more about your programs, I know you have like some free resources as well. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
Yes, we have tons and tons of free resources on Instagram or our website, thepeacefulsleeper.com. On socials, it's the.peaceful.sleeper. We also have courses, we have consultations, and in the fall, our new book is coming out titled, not surprisingly, The Peaceful Sleeper.
That
Um,
is so awesome.
yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm trying to take, my 7 years of sleep consulting information. Literally, we have 98 resources in the book. Like, I'm trying
Wow.
to make it like very digestible, but
Yes.
science driven to give parents that peace of mind that, like, I'm not just making crap up. Like, yes, I've worked with thousands of babies. And so there's a
Mhm.
little bit of my own assimilation, but like, I'm not just a girl that's saying things. Like, I've got science on my side.
Yep.
And, less than 300 pages. So, I mean, it's still like a book, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's an easy read that can help parents feel calm, reassurance, and figure out the right path for you. Because again, I'll say it again, good sleep is important.
Yep.
How you get there doesn't matter as long as you do. And
Yep.
so we have our 4 pillars for a good sleep foundation. We have our 3 pillars of sleep training, but then it's very individualized so that you can pick your own path based on these principles that fit for every single baby. The methodology is going to be nuanced for every single baby. And so I
Mhm.
want parents to feel that calm empowerment of like, now I know how to make this work for me.
Yeah. No, I really love that. And I love a good book. I feel like I like to read, there's always schedules that you can like find, but I like actually, like you said, reading and like seeing the knowledge and just understanding the full process.
Yeah.
For I'm going to say for the new moms, because I feel like that is the most trying time is when you go from not having a baby to then having this newborn at home and that lack of sleep. What advice would you give to that new mom?
I would say you are good enough. If you are actively trying, you are enough and your baby will be okay. So keep trying, keep figuring it out. Love yourself and love your baby, and you're going to figure it out. And And maybe my second piece of advice is if you are consuming information that makes you feel bad, stop consuming that information.
That's really good advice.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard being a mom. Like we are all trying our best. We need to be uplifted and supported, and
Yeah.
it's such a. I think every mom on the planet worries that they're not doing a good enough job. And so you need to be exposed to resources that tell you you're doing a
Mhm.
great job and
Yeah.
not the mean voices out there that are like, yeah, you're afraid you're not doing a good enough job. You're probably not.
You're
Like,
so right.
that doesn't help anybody. Can
I
we
definitely,
stop?
I mean, I can speak for myself. I definitely think that sometimes, you're just like, did I give her enough attention? Did I do enough? Should I have held her longer? I don't know. There's just a million things that go through your mind as a mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We went over so much, and I hope it's super helpful for any mom who listens to this, whether you are a mom that's pregnant or a new mom or a toddler mom, and your kids are just two different types of personalities with sleep. I hope it's helpful. And Chrissy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yeah, it really was. Bye.
Bye.